Hey guys, what is up? We are back. Well, Jenna and me are back. It's a little bit of a shorter session today. We decided, there was no John today. Good thing for him. He's got an event today. He's busy. He is going to Slay today, so we're gonna let him do that, and we are gonna talk about some nerd shit that we at least know stuff about. So we're gonna be talking about Tokusatsu today. So Jenna, you have a couple notes. Is there any points you want to start out with for us?
Um, well, first thing, right off the bat, getting into the juicy part right at the start. Super Sentai is quote unquote on hiatus, but genuinely, I think for their notice, I think it's canceled
It's
for
yeah.
like a multitude of different reasons. Like, for example, when I was on the Rangers wiki,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing, it was reported there was an interview with a Toei producer that some of the reasons it was going on hiatus, I genuinely like I'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the variety because one reason they state is the variety of American comic book heroes like Marvel and DC prevented them from allowing Sentai to break free from its conventional yet stagnating formula, which I think that doesn't sound right because if you see competition changing up their formulas and seeing success from it, it's like wouldn't you want to try something new? After all, Sentai essentially became irrelevant since Kamen Rider started adopting a lot of the things that made Super Sentai unique and is arguably becoming more successful and let's face it, eating up most of Toei's budget anyway.
Yeah.
And then the second reason was the loss in profits from the toy sales from Bandai after Hasbro purchased toy rights for Power
Mm-hmm.
Rangers, which made them like just as successful as Kamen Rider and the Ultraman series.
Yeah.
And streaming services that are allowing people to watch older and frank like some of them even better received
Mm-hmm.
seasons. But if that's the case, then I think Toei did a really stupid job when they were advertising their old suits and robots in their current seasons that
Mm-hmm.
are going to inevitably detract from their current season's designs. It's almost like they were trying to replicate the success of Kokaiger, but they didn't understand what made it unique and work for them specifically. So when
Mm-hmm.
they kept doing the same thing, it inevitably it will get people will get tired of seeing it. And
Yeah.
I really think it only got dumb after Zenkaiger and then Dawn Brothers and Go Zoojer.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
I
but
actually I was gonna put in. I mean, if you don't mind,
yeah, you can say something.
I was gonna say is obviously a lot of this stuff is based on toy sales. For those listening at home, they're actually still listening. A lot of the Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, any of these type of Tokusatsu stuff, except for like the passion projects type stuff, are usually based off of toy sales. So in the last decade, if I remember correctly, from after Gokaiger, which is what became Power Rangers Super Mega Force, the toy sales for that just like started plummeting. So you had all they tried to like replicate a lot of this stuff, and it just kind of started becoming more and more. Hey, look at this toy. Hey, look at this toy. Like back and forth. And I can understand like making legacy projects, like not just like having an actor come back, but making a series more and more um hey, here's the thing that we did like 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, but they do it like 5 years in a row. Like you're saying essentially is with the issue. Obviously, Gokaiger is a revered season, and then I mean I liked Zenkaiger. There's some parts of Zenkaiger I didn't like, but that's to be said. Is I think there's just this like problem where a lot of these franchises work on like half season or half year, not half year, but like one starts at the beginning of the year, one starts at the end of the year. And like Japan does their anniversary stuff really weird, if I remember correctly. Because something might not be like the anniversary might not be for another calendar year, but they'll be doing stuff like a year of and a year after. So like I know this year is technically the 20th anniversary of Kamenora Kabuto, and they're doing merch for it. They're doing like promotions for it this year, but I don't even think you're really gonna see anything until like much later. Because I know they would do the like as per example, like kind of bringing up Ultraman, Kamen Rider, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the Kamen Rider 50th anniversary was 2021. Is the 55th anniversary this year. But they did all the anniversary set festivities from basically 2021 to 2022 with like Saber and Revice. Revice was like the fifth the rider with the big 50 on their chest and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's just a lot of it's I don't want to say poor planning on their part, but it's just kind of it is a little frustrating having to see something live in the shadow of what originally was or the first iteration. And that it doesn't even really go just for Tokusatsu. I think just nostalgia bait in general, so to speak. I mean, take a look at He-Man or Transformers or Power Rangers, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot
I mean,
of
although that's kind of weird because then why would Toei complain about streaming services and oh, all these people are now seeing these older seasons? And it's like, then maybe don't advertise your old seasons in your current seasons.
I think it's just a thing is like obviously you can market and probably should market some of your older work so people can see what you came from, but I think like making your older work the core of what your show it is really damages the show that you currently have on air. I mean, obviously now they have like Gavan on air that's like in Sentai's time slot. And even then, I'm hearing that show's like not like the whole Project Red isn't doing 100% too well because of how it's like executed. I know they're doing a show called Omega Horn. I don't know how that's going to go. I want to have high hopes for it, but I'm also a little bit trepidatious on it. My thing is I like this franchise as an art form. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but I understand that a lot of merch sales is what keeps these things going. And I really do think heavily involving merch sales in the franchise, even more like putting in little gimmick items, really, at least I would think it hurt some of these shows in the long run.
Yes, especially like with what Kamen Rider has been doing.
Yes. I mean, you have a good example is there is the um catastrophe or catastrom and ordum a capsims, which is like a big strong form and then like reality warping form or whatever. So they have all this merch put out for this character, this form that's like hyped up for weeks, right? It's only on screen for maybe one episode, one scene, and then that's it. And it's like, why even like hype it up? Make it like a secret form. Make it like don't even show people. Because then people can go like, oh, what's this thing? And then people will see that, and then they'll build their own hype. but don't hype something up for like a long time just for it to only show up for like 5 minutes, I guess. Especially in the last, I want to say, I want to say the Reiwa period is really guilty of this. Do you know what I mean? Especially there's like
Yeah, like 01.
Zero One, especially there is a lot of forums that only show up for like one episode, and then like there's just a bunch of like once the upgrade shows up, forget about any of this other, forget about any of the other stuff we just like showed off. I mean, obviously, I understand like sometimes these upgrades are the more powerful things in show, but there's some of these writers. I mean, take a look at Inoue and any of the shows that are written by Inoue. He he does not want to put any of like that toy crap in his like show. He will, if I remember right, he goes out of his way to make his own story, and then like he's only contractually obligated to show the toy. So and that I really do feel like you mentioned it with you didn't mention it with Don Brothers, but that's the thing is like I feel like with Don Brothers it was really just like 20 minutes of like story and then 5 minutes of actual Ranger slash like Megazord action. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the guy did not want to write for toys. He wanted to write his own story, and he didn't get enough time. If you know what I mean, he did. If you ask me, I think Don Brothers should have been longer than 50 episodes, but
Yeah, but I honestly feel like Toei always wanted to get rid of Sentai when it became no longer profitable. Especially
no.
like I said, after Kamen Rider absorbed a lot of the Sentai
Mm-hmm.
elements and their budget. So
Yeah.
instead of outright canceling it, I think they just purposefully declined the quality and then fiddled with production and then
Yeah.
fiddled with production and networking just to give a justification to cancel it. And
I.
this is actually a much more common practice than you think
Mm-hmm.
that the networks, production studios, well, if they just don't like something, all they have to do is stop caring about it and then use that as an excuse to cancel it.
Yeah.
So, although the fact they say it is on hiatus, I feel like it gives me the impression that they don't want to outright cancel it, or at least they don't want to say it publicly.
Yeah. I.
So,
I feel
yeah,
like if Project Red doesn't go off, they might try to bring it back, but it just really depends on what you know the what the consensus is with the public. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I
So,
also feel like a lot of this is Toei's fault for
oh
not
no,
doing anything to take care of
One-
Super Sentai. It's like, like I said, they let it fall by the wayside and then use that as an excuse to
it it's
not
also
do anything with it.
it's also and it's a bit this is a bit of a transition from the part of your notes is it's kind of Saban's fault slash Hasbro's fault
Yeah.
for taking over like a lot of the what am I trying to say a lot of the marketing for Sentai also became marketing for a lot of the marketing for Power Rangers became marketing for Sentai because n- no American I don't want to say no American no non-fandom Americans really know what like any Super Sentai or Kamen Rider is outside of just calling it a Power Ranger. Like we're gonna be real. The same thing with Ultraman. Like they'll see dude in suit and they'll call it a Power Ranger. That I mean, people made the same complaint about Green Goblin in Spider-Man back in the 2000s. Oh, that was so dumb. But you know, there's a lot of issues I have with Power Rangers that I probably will state in a little bit, but I really think Power Rangers and not yeah Hasbro and Saban basically being like, hey, we own the rights to a lot of this stuff, and you can't really share this stuff because you can't really share your Sentai stuff because we own the rights. And that just it really hurt. I really do think it hurt Sentai too, not just like making toy sales like the main thing. I mean, toy sales have always been the main thing, but like the gimmick sales. But having Sentai kind of be attached on a Power Rangers leash and have basically the death of Power Rangers be what causes Sentai to kind of go under on its 50th anniversary, no less, is I would think it's really depressing. Logistics be damned.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of Power Rangers now, I actually kind of feel sad looking at the state of Power Rangers right now because I don't know if you've watched the Hollywood Demons episode from like maybe 2 years ago about Power Rangers. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I I think I've heard about it. There was like a hit piece on Jason David Frank. You know, just there's in the last 5 years, really decade, a lot of actors for Power Rangers have just kind of turned out to be, I don't want to say shitty humans, but a, a lot of people behind the scenes are crappy people. A lot of people, that were involved with the show aren't necessarily the best people. And there's a lot of these actors that are just like banking off the fact that they played a character like 30 years ago. And, there's just the, there's like a contract Shuki Levy made that basically fucks any of the. I'm sorry, I'm swearing for people listening at home. I'm putting this out here. I'm paraphrasing. Shuki Levy made a contract piece or whatever. So basically, any of these actors that were on Power Rangers at one point basically get fucked over when it comes to getting any work outside of that. Of course, there are some people that got out of that. There is there's the actor for Daggeron and um Dougie Kruger, who was just in Moana. He did really good. I think there's a couple of those guys that are actually in Star Wars too. But it's very unfortunate that a franchise I grew up on, where and some of my values were built upon, is owned by, acted by, all this kind of stuff by just like crappy people. It's like I understand that sometimes it's just a bit, or sometimes it's just a character they play, but I feel like there should be a little bit of a, I don't know, if you play a morally good character, I feel like you should have a little bit of similar morals, maybe.
Yeah,
That's a little bit gatekeeping, but of course,
I was
nope.
sorry. No, I was just going to say that one of the major takeaways that I took from it, and you've kind of hit upon this when I was in my notes, that I feel like this is what happens when you work on a franchise that isn't allowed to be nuanced or complex.
Yeah.
It's like not only there is a stigma with working on kids shows, so
Hmm.
no one will ever hire actors from said kids shows, along with, like you said, there's a contract that basically doesn't allow actors to work on anything else.
Yeah.
But also working on a show where you're not allowed to essentially be a multi-dimensional person or even
Yeah.
explore potentially difficult themes and be this spitting image of a good scout and having simple, clean, squeaky clean stories with none of the rough edges. It's like it's going to put a lot of pressure on some actors to try and keep up appearances as this
Hmm.
strong, stoic person who stands tough in the face of evil. But when you're not allowed to show any form of emotional weakness or struggle, stuff that would actually resonate more with people, it
Hmm.
will make some actors more isolated and alone,
Yeah.
but they're not allowed to speak to anyone about it. It's like this is kind of what happens. This is what happens
Mm.
when you act out a power fantasy for strangers. There's no room for
Yeah.
humanity.
And and I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I have this sentiment is I really feel like the obviously there's issues with the Disney era, but from the 1990s, like 1998, so like in space to Wild Force, of course that they're going to be bad acting. Like some of these guys are like in their early 20s or late teens, so their acting's not going to be like on par. But I really feel like there's like deeper elements that they were really trying to hit at. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's the concepts of death or mourning or just like hey, not all these characters are going to be necessarily good guys. I feel like, some of these Disney seasons tried to get that. SPD was one that definitely like kind of hit that nail on the head when it came to like certain characters having arcs with characters that used to be friends but now they're bad guys. But it definitely, from my viewpoint, the it became more of the I don't want to say almost Nick Jr.-fied or like junior-ified the franchise once the rights came back from Disney. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also, what I mean by like, you know, difficult and nuanced and complex like topics, like, I'm obviously not saying traumatize the kids,
No.
because if shows like, say, Gravity Falls was
Hmm.
able to do just fine with its more like mature take on certain things, and I'm sure Power Rangers
Exactly.
was gonna be doing just fine with it. And actually, what you said about and granted, this has been like a hot minute since I've seen like a Power Rangers season, but from my experience, most of the time, whenever I saw like a character who was bad but then was good, usually it's mostly because they were brainwashed. And that doesn't
Yeah.
really give a lot of room
Mm-mm.
for like any sort of nuanced discussions or
No.
like difficult, like morally gray sort of thing. And
There.
actually, I think a wasted potential that I
Hmm.
realized that for most Power Rangers teams is that we never know what their goals in life were
Yeah.
before getting swept up into their roles. It's like, for example, what kind of family did they have? What
Yeah.
career did they want to get into? It's like, an interesting conflict they could have done very easily
I
is show some of them trying to balance the struggle of everyday life and
being a
being a
Power Ranger.
soldier for some random
Yeah.
alien or ancient being or whatever. It's like that would have helped in making somewhat nuanced conversations rather
Yes.
than just a plain power fantasy. Like if superheroes like Spider-Man was able to do it just fine, then I think Power Rangers should have been able to do it just fine.
I think, and I hate like MMPR dick writing, but I feel like that's how MMPR got a lot more nuance, even though it definitely was a bit schlocky at times, is because they have more time to write characters. They have more time to, even though some of the characters didn't get to show their families or like any of the other stuff, when they were pre-established, they have characters that are pre-established. And yeah, some of them fit in the archetypes, but like you had enough time over 3 years, 3 seasons to actually write different aspects of these characters. These sometimes these characters don't get along long and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I don't really like, you know, get giving too much credit for the first season for a long year, like multi-decade franchise. But I think to give it its due, because of how long it went, they had more room to, get give a lot of deeper stuff to these characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And even when like Power Rangers did like, like when Saban got the rights back again, even when they started doing second seasons, they barely did anything with them.
Yeah, and I think, and this is just me complaining about, you know, season lengths, is that when they compressed seasons down from 40 episodes to 20, I understand there's like a whole like logistical thing around that, but half the time they shoot these shows like a half a year ahead of time, you know? So I don't think it would necessarily hurt to just like you can probably shoot an episode or two in a week or in a like a month, like in a day. You can get a probably if they can do it overseas, I'm pretty sure they can do it over here. They did it for like 50 years. And they were doing it up until like the early to mid 2010s. Like I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I This is something I have been complaining about for a decade or more is that once they cut down a season to like a half season, like a 20 episode season, that it just kind of messed with, the story. And I get it nowadays. Modern technology, you know, especially special effects, it's a lot more time. Like, there's a lot more time, a lot more crunch script, all that kind of stuff. So I understand that you can't necessarily make, you know, a 50 episode thing in like a half a year's time. But if some of these shows can like start shooting, like they're probably shooting the newest season of Kamen Rider right now as we speak. They're probably halfway done with it as we speak because they were doing that with Sentai. They were doing it with Gojuger like like last year, even before they had to replace the actress, which is a whole mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I and that I actually think at this point the comics are really the only thing keeping Power Rangers alive now.
It really is.
And
I
and actually, sorry,
No.
I was just gonna say that there was and that upcoming new Power Ranger series reboot that apparently had filming set to begin. And as of right now, from the last time I saw, January 2026, it'll be on Disney Plus. Ironically enough, bringing it full circle. But who knows where
Where
that's
did
gonna
that
go?
bring you back to me? It's like freaking Than. Yeah, that whole clip of Thanos is like all that work. What did that bring you back to me? It's I don't know. I I guess I will say just to kind of give a little note on that. I kind of hope whoever's on the team for that show at least understands the what makes Tokusatsu or what makes Power Rangers work for some people. I understand. I'm pretty sure they won't. I'm pretty sure they won't. This is unintentionally become a Power Rangers bitching episode, but I guess for me, I see a lot of this as an art form. It's why I like a lot of the older movies is because, sometimes they're making these shows on $5 in a dream. I mean, this is just a funny thing is you will see the start of the show, they have these big full sets of all like the hero's headquarters or the villain's headquarters, or they're shooting in a cafe, all that kind of stuff. And then like halfway down the season, like the big bad corporation, they're shooting it in the hallway of the office building. Like these shows have like a shoestring budget as it is. The original one especially. I think the original freaking Kamen Rider belt was a weightlifting belt with like a bunch of greeblies attached. Like they were just shooting this like guerrilla fashion, if you know what I mean, like guerrilla
like
filmmaking
DIY.
methods. Yes, very much, very much. Like it was filmmaking wise, the way it started, even with Ultraman. Well, I guess Ultraman had that Supro budget that they were using for Godzilla, but like with Kamen Rider, I would say it was very rudimentary, especially if you watch old Kamen Rider. The original with Mr. Fujioka is very much they were working with what they had. And yes, did they probably have like a very expensive budget for 1971? Probably, probably, but you can tell it's also just like filmmaking standards too. I think there's just like I if I remember correctly, there's also just I don't know if the filmmaking industry isn't taken as seriously overseas. You know what I mean? Like actual like
Yeah,
film. Maybe anime, maybe animation a little bit, but you know what I mean?
yeah, like so like over like people in the United like people in the West don't take like Japanese stuff seriously. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean like so if I remember correctly, there's like this whole thing in Japan of the film, like actual like film isn't take of course there are big famous like Japanese films done by artisans, but as an industry in its own home country, I think if I remember right, there is a little bit of a stigma. That's why it kind of seems like a lot of like Japanese films you see from overseas, except for like the different countries are working on the same film. Like a lot of the stuff that's put out by Japan exclusively is at least I want to say they're like a step above Hallmark in terms of quality. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you could I isn't that kind of like similar with the United States not taking our film industry that seriously?
I would say the United States takes their film industry seriously. I feel like they don't take animation as seriously
Well, yeah, no
over
kidding.
here. Yeah, obviously. I and especially anything I would feel like kind of, bringing this back to Tokusatsu is, you know, especially in the West, I a lot of people will see practical effects and think it's being more cheap. Where I think, and one of the reasons why I love Tokusatsu as an art form is, a lot of it is practical effects. There's nothing to really digitally add except for maybe some cleanup. So you're not like it's not like with Spider-Man where they stick like Tom Holland in a gray suit and then just like cover him with a CGI model of Spider-Man. No. They're doing this with the new Spider-Man, which I really appreciate, is that they're sticking a guy in a suit. The lighting is real, the action is real for the most part. There's something there. And that's what I appreciate about filmmaking, tokusatsu filmmaking, or just like older filmmaking as an art form. Everything was there. People can make complaints about, you know, all their petty politics and all that kind of stuff, but it's not it's not that. It's the quality, it's the integration of technology where everything has to be clean and polished. Films are too clean. It's all too clean or too much flash. There needs to be more substance, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and also let's hope that the Spider-Man suit in the new Spider-Man movie is actually real because I have heard cases where the behind the scenes of some movies have actually been digitally edited so that
Oh,
it would look practical effects, but they were actually using CGI for those things.
well, I mean, obviously, CGI is like probably the best it's going to be for you at least like another half decade. But I really do think that look at the sorry people are watching and listening at home, this was about Tokusatsu, but now it's just about like live action stuff. Look at the Man of Tomorrow Lex Luthor power suit. It's there. It's physically there. And
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. It's just I'm just saying that's what Hollywood does sometimes. So
yeah,
just fact check. That's all I'm
well,
saying.
especially now with the advent of AI, is that like people can just like make up images that look like on set stuff, and then people might be able to fall for it easier than others because that it's unfortunately gotten so good it's hard to discern real from fake. But just like with CGI in movies, actually having that real physical prop be there adds so much more to the scene for me than having a computer generated image or
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
So,
And actually, going back to Tokusatsu, I wanted to actually discuss about progression, like my thoughts on the progression of Kamen Rider suit design.
mhm.
As it's often an advancement in technology with
Oh yeah,
tools used in costume designing, allowing them to be experimental, like
yeah.
fitting the aesthetic theme of various seasons. But sometimes I feel like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, like with
Oh,
Zero One, for which I'm going to get into that. They also have to account with power-up forms so that it can be translated into the actual like design. Either they do it smoothly or
hmm.
jarring, or the resemblance isn't really quite there, like with some of the Gotchard forms that
Yeah,
I'm um and some
there's
of the sorry.
no, you're right. I was gonna kind of add on to that. One thing that Toei is really guilty of is reusing a lot of suit parts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you get suits that are from, or suit parts that are from 10, 20 years ago that they'll just like slap on a new suit and they just call it a new form, call it a day. Like
I mean,
they,
they probably have the molds for it.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, and also some design ideas and gimmicks really do feel like they're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what
Oh
sticks,
yeah.
regardless if it makes sense with the overall theme. Like, for example, what I don't like, why does Revise have like what does dinosaurs and in Revise have to do with stamps other than like as a gimmick device, other than just trying to stand out? And
Because
Zero
I think it's
One
really
yeah, that's probably what it is. But with Zero One, I feel like they could have tried something interesting with its gimmick device theme, like I don't know, maybe making it based off of machinery or tech or even job roles, like what they
I
did with the Huma Gears.
I think
But
that's what they've tried to do. I think, and I kind of realized it is that like a lot of the progress keys are like business cards.
yeah,
You kind of see them more as business cards, but they really didn't really get deep into that. They were trying to, because it was a Takahashi story. They were really trying to get into like the actual character element of a lot of the characters in the show, and not just like the gimmick items.
yeah, but then they took the lazy route and based them off of animals for some reason. So it's like and
Well, I
also
mean,
And also, I mean, I get it. I'm also guilty of relying on animals for creating character designs, but like, come on, guys. Like, seriously? And also, like we mentioned at the start, Zero One is very much guilty of introducing like an item one. Like they introduce an item once, and then the second that it gets replaced, it's never seen again.
yeah, and I like to think, and you kind of see this with they've been doing this for a while, but they upgrading technology in actual suit making, like they're doing that with, I think they did it with Zets, where they're implementing a lot more texture to some of these suits instead of just like sticking a guy in a like a in a spandex suit and then plopping some armor on. I really do think like there is a lot of advancements in like a lot of these suits. Like obviously, I think I remember seeing this the behind the scenes thing for Zio with the O suit is like half of these suits are just like suspenders and a shirt, and now it's like just like with Ultraman, they have to stick the guy like they have to zip the guy up and then put the hood on and then put the helmet on. There's a lot of technological progression in a lot of these like suits too, and it's impressive. But I can also imagine it's very hard for some of these actors that are working inside these suits. There's always the famous thing of like the decayed suit actor can barely see crap because these helmet designs are so they're so impractical. These helmet designs are so impractical. They may look cool, but they're impractical. The only ones that were really practical to actually some of these actors be able to see is one, the Sentai suits, because obviously they had those visors, except for like the stunt visors. And then like any of the Showa suits where they had like those little eye holes. Like they're looking at like eye holes that are this while their like big bug eyes are like on their forehead. And so like they're just like fighting like this. It's like I can't see shit. I'm punching this guy. I don't want to punch him in the dick or whatever. It's it's nice to have like that technology, but there's a lot of there is problems to it.
I
I can
mean, sorry. It's just I heard this one case, and correct me if I'm wrong,
mm-hmm,
but the reason why, like the original Kiva
mm-hmm.
suit, the reason why they immediately abandoned the that suit when like the ultimate Kiva suit came around is
Well, the
because the
chains were
thing
too
that
much to
they
work with.
well also I wasn't it also because like the thing that they attached to his leg was actually made of metal and the guy
Yeah,
just couldn't like move that well?
if I remember correctly, there was some stuff like they thought looked cool behind the scenes, and then it's like, okay, we have to actually replace this with actual like you know get the new upgrade suit in because this is just really impractical. God, we got long winded. We got long winded. God, we get if we ever had to do a sequel to this, we probably actually have to watch this one back before we do a thing about this. Um. So yeah, me and Jenna got really deep into like our opinions on this stuff. Probably a little bit longer than we should have. But um, was there anything you wanted to add before we really like try to sign off, Jenna?
Well, one thing that I wanted to mention that it honestly feels weird in retrospect that I
Mm-hmm.
was so interested in tokusatsu related things because it's clearly a genre that was not marketed towards people like me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it was actively trying to push me away.
Yeah.
But for some reason, at that time and maybe even like a little bit of today,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I keep coming back just to check on it. And I
Yeah.
mostly just check on like the suit designs, the gadgets, and the monsters are really the only thing that
Yeah.
monster designs are the only thing that intrigue me now.
Yeah. And that's really what it is for me too. I think kind of a similar thing with the Power Rangers actors or fandom is that the fandom kind of pushes me away, not in like a literal sense, but of like just the vibes. You know what I mean? The yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of say that you're like a Ranger fan or a Rider fan when like there's a lot of people that just don't fundamentally understand certain characters or just in general don't understand and what makes the thing good, and then like halfway through a season they're going to call something crap and just get hyped up for the next season. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it, but we really don't have enough time to get into it. So, all right. Well, it's just me and Jenna today. We're M.I.Diverse. Please, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm saying this stuff out of order, but I hope that you guys understand. You know, we try to stay on topic. We really do. It's hard sometimes because our brains just all kind of interconnect everything.
We have thoughts and we have opinions, and
Yes,
sometimes we have to dart to this subject in order to get it out there.
exactly. So, anyway, please, again, like, comment, subscribe, share. We're on Instagram now. So please check us out there. I'm going to be trying to post some shorts. I'm going to be trying to post like little like if snippets or just like announcements of when episodes are dropping or announcement when an episode drops. So please,
Maybe even the occasional meme, I don't know.
yes, yes. So please watch us on YouTube. What listen to us on Spotify. I am doing my best to figure that out and like us on Instagram. So please, thank you for watching. If you got to the end of the video, we appreciate you guys for watching and share the crap out of this. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.